Hey, what's up, bookworms and fighting Fremen? We're back again to talk about this little movie that you might have heard of. It's kind of big right now. Well, guys, this is going to be full spoilers for Dune Part 2. And if you hang around long, we're going to talk about some things that happen in some later books. We won't be doing that the whole time. When we did this back in 2021, Christopher Ruocchio and I, you might have listened to that and thought that we didn't like it. Christopher, did we like Dune Part 1? I think we did, didn't we?
I think so. My initial, I was kind of like let down the first time I watched it, and I had to watch it a couple times to like
That's just
kind of
when you
come
marry the
around.
source material. That's going to happen, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like the first movie, like there were all the news stories about how there were there was like a 5 hour cut of the movie. I felt like the wrong 2.5 hours were picked, right? Like I think it's finally like there were some other scenes I would have preferred to see. I don't know exactly how I would have done it, but um it took me a while to sort of figure out what my issues were. But on balance, like I really liked the first one. It took me
So,
a
would
minute.
you say this time, leaving the theater, did you feel better than you did after you left part one or not?
I'm gonna like disappoint people. I think so. It's weird because like I think this movie is like way more fun to watch. But like on balance, I think like I was saying to you right before the thing, is why we're 2 minutes late. Is I think I like the sci-fi miniseries the best of the three.
Mm.
I think it's the most faithful to the book of the three adaptations. Does not say I didn't think it was awesome. Like the whole time I was having a great time. All the action scenes were amazing, right? All the gear was really cool. Like I have bought both art books, right? But I feel like this one did not capture. I don't think Denis Villeneuve's Dune is my Dune. Fundamentally, I think I've come around to that. But I
Guys,
liked it.
raise your
I liked it.
hand if you're surprised. No,
You know,
here's the thing.
like
Here's the thing.
I'm surprised actually, though, right? Like I was so excited. I was like pacing around the house, getting ready to leave. My wife was making us late. I was really looking forward. I haven't seen a movie in like a year, so I was a little bit let down. I'm like pissed that I'm let down. I'm not happy about it. It's not normally I'm like, oh, I hated something awesome. Like I can be that guy. I'm like kind of bummed out, and I didn't hate it. I just like, man, uh, it wasn't what I was hoping for. It was close, but it wasn't what I was hoping for.
What I was trying to point out to people is like we are both huge book fans. Okay, we both have read this. I know exactly how many times I've read it. I'm not going to presume to know how many times you've read it, but we both read this a lot, and we're very, very committed to that source material. So we're going to nitpick, guys. It doesn't mean that I feel like at least for me, that we dislike the movie or anything. So I think back to that review we did in 2021. Everybody was like, "Oh, these guys like hated the movie," and we also did that like literally. I think both of us. It'd been less than 24 hours since we saw it. And of course, we had some hangups. That's just going to happen when you're really, really close to the source material. So just because we're nitpicking doesn't mean that if you really enjoyed the movie, you can't say that. I did enjoy the movie. Clearly, I liked it more than Christopher. I don't disagree with some of the things he's saying, for sure. And we're going to kind of get into that, as we go along. But I just want you guys to know this is going to be full spoilers. We won't talk about anything that happens in Dune Messiah or Children of Dune, but we will be doing that later. But I'll let you guys know when that happens. But we will be talking about Dune the book. So I feel like if you've seen this, I don't feel like that we're going to spoil you the book any worse for you than the movie did, but just want to get that out there before we started going. I guess because we kind of got through our general thoughts there, really. Are you surprised that there wasn't a time jump? I thought for sure because of this we were going to. I mean, this is literally. I mean, you still see Jameis's body. So I was like, this is literally like minutes after the last one ended. I was surprised to see that.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed actually by that. I think this is like a very maybe a strange thing to say, but I wish that we had like learned our lesson from the Last Jedi that like literally direct sequels bad idea, because you do a lot of like character arc smoothing by just making a gap, right? And if we put the time gap, I mean, I think I said in the last stream, I wish that the first movie had ended with Jameis's funeral and with Paul becoming Muad'Dib, right, crying for Jameis's death, right? Maybe we like move so that Chani's relationship with Paul starts there instead of the spice orgy, right? So we have that start there at the end, right? Because he's been seeing that all the movie too. They didn't say Muad'Dib in the first movie at all, which I thought was a little bit of a mistake, right? I think that should have been part of his visions, because he says that in the book, right? Like, they'll call me Muad'Dib, right? And you, mother, will have a scar beside your nose, right? And you know, all of that stuff. Like, that should have been worked in there, and I think the movie should have ended there. And then you could have had the time jump. We could have had Baby Leto in the movie, because actually you need Baby Leto in the movie, because you need the villains to be a credible threat at the end. And this was the big problem for me, is that like the Battle of Erechim kind of sucked. And it was like way too easy. The Sardaukar just evaporated. And they needed to hurt Paul a little bit. And except for literally getting stabbed, which was cool. Man, the fight was so cool. You know, I think it was too easy. So like, you know, I think we needed the time skip in order to have, you know, Baby Leto. And I love how they handled Alia, but I wouldn't have hated to see her properly. You know, but anyway, yeah, no, I was super disappointed.
I mean, going back to part one, I was disappointed that they took out the, you know, Paul crying. That was actually what, you know, endeared him to the Fremen. Like, oh, he would, you know, give his water for someone he doesn't know, kind of thing. But, you know, hey, at least they did keep in Muad'Dib. I was not sure they were going to do Muad'Dib, the whole name of the mouse and all that stuff. So that was cool for me. I was just really surprised to see, wow, this is literally just minutes after. But I got over it real quick, because the whole ambush from the Harkonnen was awesome. I thought that the Sardaukar, where they're all like floating, and that was such a cool shot. I mean, like every time one of them was falling off and they were getting sniped, just pow! I don't know how loud your theater was, but man, like my wife was like jumping at that part. So it was,
I don't think anybody reacted at all the entire movie. I think everybody just sort of sat there like this the whole time, which is fine by me.
No, we were at a fan screen, so it was like all book fans. So it was.
Oh
like,
yeah, no,
there was no phones. I mean, there was like, you know, chuckling or something like Stillgar, who we'll get into, was very amusing, I think, in this movie.
Yeah,
so, you know, you have laughs at the right moment, and, you know, and people were clapping at the end and stuff. So I mean, I went and saw it with a bunch of fans, so of course it was going to be a good audience. But just seeing an Allow theater, it was like, wow, the sound is just as impressive to me as the visuals were.
Oh yeah, big time. No, technically it was amazing, right? Like, I mean, like I said, every action scene was just so good. That initial ambush sequence was awesome, right? But my favorite was the first spice harvester fight, when they're hiding behind the legs and trying to.
No doubt, that was incredible.
It was great. It was also like a great bit of character work. You know, we could see Paul and Chani working together, which is actually something the book doesn't really do. And so like that was really nice, and like they made a good team, and like the actors were working well together. All the performances were great. But like I love just seeing like the laser guns going off, right? And those like magnet mines they used to take out one of the I almost said sand crawler. But to take out the spice harvester, right? And just like all of that stuff was so cool. The first hour was like amazing. Like I was having the best time. You know, and it was because of like all of that stuff. You know, all the like little bits of technology, right? Like down to like Irulan's dictatel, right, with the spindle. Like that was really cool. I just like they thought about all those little details like so carefully, and it was really nice to see something that meticulously crafted in motion. I just
a nod to the book, you know, with Irulan's little, you know, epigraphs before each chapter. I thought that was pretty cool. I expected to see her a lot more in this movie. I was actually stunned how little of her and Walken's Emperor that we actually didn't get in the movie. That was actually really surprising. It's like, it's not because like they needed a bigger part. It was just one of those things where it's like, that's pretty big names to have them on the screen. Maybe a combined 5 minutes, if that.
5 minutes. Yeah, I mean it's you know, it's sort of like casting Jason Momoa for what was really like a minor role in the first movie, right? It's because you're, you know, anticipating
the future.
Anticipating the future, you know. Yeah. You know, so but I was looking through the art book, and there's like a bunch of stuff in there on Catane, right? And like they're like these sort of establishing shots of the Imperial Palace on Catane that we like don't see in the movie at all. Like everything there is like pretty intimate, right? It's like all in little hallways and these little rooms in the garden and stuff. And so they like did a lot more work than they showed. So I wouldn't be surprised to learn that like a half hour of the Carinos is what was cut out. You know, so I maybe one day we'll see. I was thinking about this too, because I haven't seen the Lord of the Rings theatrical cuts since they were in theaters.
Right, me neither.
And I remember being a kid and watching the extended version for the first time and thinking, that was good. This is so much better. And I think they're must be a 4.5 hour version of each of these two films that's significantly better
I
for my
hope.
money.
Denny's one of those guys where he's like, the director's cut is the cut I put out in the theater. And I'm like, I understand that as an artist, but I was like, as a fan, I want to see all, because I damn it, I still am convinced they recorded that damn dinner scene in part one. I
They
swear to God
totally
they had
did.
to
There is photographic evidence of it. That they recorded that
even
scene.
if they don't put it back in the movie, give me those scenes, and then some fan can do some kind of super cut or something.
Yeah, at least put the deleted scenes on the on the DVD, but they didn't. I checked. There are a bunch of cool little like film book miniature like clip things on the.
No, like what are they gonna do for the 10-year anniversary, Christopher? Come on, they gotta do that for the 10th anniversary. You know that's how this works.
Yeah, well, like maybe it'll happen, right? Director or no. I think in this case they're like they know they have like an auteur, right? And there are only like 2 of those these days, right? Like maybe 3. And so they probably won't do it out of respect for his vision, but I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong about that, and I think he's wrong when he says Paul's story is over in Dune Messiah.
We'll get there. We'll get there for sure.
Yeah. I keep reading interviews with him, and I just like I just don't agree with you.
I think I agree with him a lot more than you do, but on that instance, yeah, we'll get into it when we do get closer to talking.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, it's okay. The harvester scene that Scott's bringing up here, something I wanted to say about this was what I appreciate about that is because Frank can be kind of like Tolkien in that regard, where there was a battle going on over there. He'll write like 1 or 2 sentences about something, so actually get to see some of those things, and it just being so grand and spectacle. So I think about the one where like where they first find Gurney, and by the way, playing as Ballested, hell yeah. But his freighter's like blowing up in the background, and he's just like walking around, like that is just like massive, and it's like, is that real? Is that a miniature? Is that CGI? It was so good, I didn't even tell. And I know you and I are real big on this. I'm tired of this totally green screen CGI diarrhea shit that we get all over the place now. If I can't tell if it's a practical effect or CGI, you're doing something right. And I feel like he's got that perfect balance. So visually, I can't say anything.
Yeah, the one time I was taken out by visuals was in the like Giedi Prime like big establishing shots of like the arena and the crowd, or when they were doing the Nazi Soviet parades, right? The goose stepping did not look right. Those did not look like people. I
thought that about the crowd. It all looked like an old NES game, and like the crowd's all doing the same thing.
It's like Super Punch Out in black and white. Yeah. Man, the
Giedi
Prime stuff.
The fireworks look so cool on Giedi Prime. We'll just dedicate a whole slot to Giedi Prime here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you have a plan. I'm just rambling.
What did you think about Stillgar being like a little bit humorous, being very much a more politicker, I think, than he is in the book? Look, I look at all 3 versions of Stillgar that we've got now. Javier Bardem's got to be my favorite. I just loved the first one. I was like, he was fine, but in this one, I think he was just awesome. I know you might not like it because they feel like they might have been going for laughs too much, but I felt like when he needed to be serious, like in the 3rd act, I thought it was very serious, like it needed to be. But I did feel like he brought a little bit of the heaviness of the story down a little bit.
I thought like tonally it worked really great. I think we needed a little bit of that relief. What I didn't like about it necessarily, I did not like the ideological diversity of the Fremen thing, right? Where they're like the ones that don't believe. I think, I think that, so look, I this is like a personal thing, right? Because like I am religious, and so playing religion like completely as a joke in the movie rubbed me the wrong way, kind of personally, because it's it's a personal thing, obviously the religion of the Fremen is like fake. It's manufactured by the Bene Gesserit, right? But I don't know. Just it's one of those things that like irritates me a little bit. But I love Javier Bardem. Like he's great. And I agree with you. I think of the 3 Stillgars, he's the best one.
Yeah. That's not the case with everything. It's like I like all the performances, but I was like, of these 3 adaptations, I say there's pick and choose of which one's my favorite performance. But I really, like my wife said, she didn't even remember Stillgar's name in the first movie. In this one, she said he was a standout for her, and she's not even. Really, really hot take here. She's not really a big Javier Bardem fan. She says she can't understand what he says. She says he sounds like he's got marbles in his mouth. And I'm like, she's not wrong, but I was like, I like him anyway.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Yeah, I mean, he was only in like 2 scenes in the first one too, right? So like, it's hard for him to be
because of that, because of the split. I was like, wow, I can't believe they're doing the water of life scene this quick. I'm like, well, I guess this is actually kind of right, because you split this book into 2 parts, you get that water of life scene, very, very quick. What do you think about how quick Jessica's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it? I guess it was that or death, right? I mean, it's not really a hard choice.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it didn't really bother me. I'm trying to come up with an answer because I had something I hadn't thought about. It didn't bother me when I was watching the movie. So yeah, that was fine. I thought Jessica was great. I'm not sure about playing her as like quite as like outwardly evil, but performance wise, I thought she was awesome. Like what a presence.
See, I didn't feel like Stillgar was using wrong with someone was saying. I didn't get that it was like MCU-esque of his quips. I mean, people tried to say that about Gurney. Smile Gurney. I am smiling. I didn't feel like that was. I mean, some of those Marvel jokes are just like bad. I'm like, no one's going to say that in real life.
Yeah, no. They felt like pretty credible. They felt like pretty credible.
Yeah, it just felt like he was just always moving the goalposts to fit his narrative. Like, oh, see, he's so humble, he won't even admit that he's Mahdi. I thought that was amusing. So I never looked at it as
yeah. I mean, we should like be careful, right, not to fall into a trap of thinking that like anything that's funny is bad because Marvel tries to be funny. Like that's like let us not fall into that particular pitfall. But I mean, most of the jokes worked for me. Them making fun of Paul for not knowing how to sandwalk or whatever, right? Like it was all right. Although like the thing about Paul is that actually he does know how to do all of that, so like that was a little bit of a weird choice. But like as far as like the joke went, like it was like the timing was good, the delivery was good, but yeah. So
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's because I listened to the soundtrack first, and the Water of Life track sounded full on like nightmare fuel. So I was expecting this to be like really, really like Willy Wonka boat ride kind of trippy, messed up, a little bit. So I mean, I don't know. That might have been me setting up some expectations for myself, but I mean, it got the general point across. Oh shit! Why didn't you tell us you were pregnant? I think that was always just kind of the biggest point of that. And,
yeah, I would have liked that whole thing to have been more. Like more serious, but I think this is the price you pay for adding this whole dimension where like some of the Fremen are Bene Gesserit atheists, right? Like I think that also like weakens the Bene Gesserit, right, in a certain way that like some people are just like nah, right?
All right. I am going to disagree. I actually like the fundamentalist versus non-fundamentalist because I've always been like, so you're telling me millions of these people are all lockstep with believing this one thing. I was like, man, I could put you in a room with 100 people and 100 people aren't going to agree with, what's the best option for lunch. So I always thought you could have disagreements. And honestly, I feel like it's setting the stage for something that's going to happen in Messiah because they're Fremen that are very just kind of jaded with Paul and are quite not believing.
Okay, that's a fair point. Going into yes.
I don't want to talk about Messiah yet, but I'm saying that I feel like that is something that's kind of setting the stage for what's to happen. Now we'll get more into China as we go along here. I was like okay with her being like skeptical. I'm not quite sure about how it ended, but we'll get there. But I understand people who are saying that this. People were trying to say that like this is like a real world like trying to put something into. I don't feel like there's any real world politics in this movie. Like everybody likes to kind of point out. I feel like some people are just kind of jumping at ghosts at this point. But that was, I don't know. It didn't bother me that much, but I can see why it's bothering some people for sure.
I think it mostly bothered me for the Chani reason, right? Which you said we'll talk about in a bit. But because I putting her in that camp was, I think, a giant X. Maybe I would have felt better about it if she wasn't attached to it. But
no, Christopher's like, you will agree with the Missionary Protectiva or you will die. ℓ𝕗𝕗𝕗, baby. ℓ𝕗𝕗𝕗.
That's correct. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, it is kind of like the point, though, right? It was, that this is so effective and so useful. And for maybe the dials need to be adjusted a little bit. Like the fact that like all the young people are laughing at Stillgar, like that maybe is the problem. Maybe Stillgar should be taken more seriously, and the people who are laughing at him should be sort of more marginal. Maybe, something I have to think about. This is a like relatively minor point though. Like I didn't like it that much, but it was like okay. So
Did I distract you with Bryce's comment?
no, I
Bryce's
was
kinda how
looking up
felt.
at the ceiling.
Well, what Bryce is saying is kind of how I felt when I saw Lord of the Rings. Is I was like, I'm actually fine with a lot of the changes. Now, if there's anything I'm closer to than Lord of the Rings, it's this. So obviously, I'm going to nitpick a little more. But I also think I'm 20 years older than when Lord of the Rings came out. Obviously, you're a lot more critical. Breaking news, guys. Unless you're Christopher, when you get older, you get way more nitpicky about everything. And you're
I
like,
was
no, I
born this
want.
way. Yeah,
Chris is
no.
kind of an old soul in that regard, but there's going to be changes. For me, I mean, elephant in the room. I hate what they did with Alia. I hate it, and that's weird because I feel like you're okay with it.
Yeah, like that didn't bother me that much, you know, since they decided to skip the time skip, which I don't agree with. I think the way they did it was fine. I think it was cool, interesting. It contributed this like sort of otherworldly element to Jessica as well. Like it sort of enhanced the Reverend Mother thing, or maybe it confused it. Maybe, right? Like maybe when the third movie comes out, people are like, "Wait a minute, I thought she was like that because of the baby, and now the baby is over there." I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But like, but I thought it was good. You know, I also appreciate that there's not like a 3-year-old actress that like got traumatized by being in this movie. So like, that's cool. But you know, no poltergeist situation.
Man,
But
I'm Sorry, Grandfather was like my favorite moment in that book. I thought it was
yeah, so this is the
hate that
thing
freaking
is Paul killing the Baron was pretty anticlimactic actually.
Yeah.
Like that moment did not land for me. It was a
I
little
almost
bit.
would have rather just because it looked like the Emperor was about to have him assassinated before they bust in the doors. I almost kind of would have just rather it have been that than what did he say? You die like an animal? Is that what he says to him? I don't know. That was one part where the music was so loud I couldn't hear what
Yeah,
he said.
it was a
Grandfather, you
yeah,
die
it
like
was
an
something
animal.
like you die like animal. It was a Gom thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. Instead of
Um,
saying you've met the Gom. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just. I feel like if you could do it in 1984, I don't see why you couldn't do it now. And I just like, oh, it's so hard. It's not hard to get a kid actor. I don't. There's so many great kid actors, and you dub over their voice. Look what you're doing in this movie. You're making it look like someone's actually riding a giant sandworm. You're telling me you can't dub someone's voice?
they could totally do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So I'm waiting to see how they do with Messiah, because I think what they can obviously get out of jail free card with this is say, oh, well, she has accelerated aging, which she did, and that's why. Hey, look at this. Aaliyah's 30 years old now, and she's Anya Taylor-Joy. You know, so I feel like that's what they can do. I actually thought the Vision was pretty cool. It was pretty
Vision
cool.
was really cool.
And the
With
thing,
ocean.
and I'm not trying to be mean by this, but Anya Taylor-Joy does have like a peculiar kind of look. I feel like she's kind of got that weirdness of Aaliyah. So I can be, I'm down with that casting. I am. She's just a little old.
Yeah, I think she'll be great in part 3. I was delighted when it turned out she was going to be Alia. Super
And
psyched.
basically, I felt like it was a nod to the inner monologues of the book where Jessica's like talking to Jessica, or Jessica's talking to Aaliyah the whole time. This guy talking in her head.
Yeah, there's also that weird moment right at the end of the book too, where like Alia does like a weird thing where she like travels into the future and like leaves a message for Paul so that he can see it, and it's like she never does it again, and so there's like a weird vision there where she can speak to him out of his prescient visions of the future. You know, so there's a little bit of that in there too. But I thought the Vision was great. I would have liked more like Lynchian weirdness with the Visions, honestly. Like it was kind of like over and done. I would have liked to see more, but if anybody's read my books, you know I like Visions. So I'm a big fan. So you know, so more of that would have been, you know, right into my veins. But what we had was great. I really liked like all of the Fremen like stuff too, like the
Dude,
the
I'm
the
so
make
glad we
the,
got the Feyd-Rautha. I wasn't sure we were gonna get the Feyd-Rautha at all, you know, because have we gotten to actually call them for the Feyd-Rautha in either of the other adaptations?
I think so. I think so. It's been a minute since I've watched either of them. I've only watched the Lynch one twice. I was all over sci-fi adaptation, but it's been a
Yeah,
long
it's been
time.
a while.
As you know, I've been like avoiding Dune for the last like 6 years. So I haven't, except for watching these movies, I haven't really gotten on it. So
I will say they've dropped the ball in the weirding way in all 3 adaptations, though.
100%. Yep.
I mean, it's just like I'm sorry, Frank doesn't really exactly tell you what it is. Just, hey, you're a weirding woman. You got this amazing fighting style. So I don't know. I mean, it could be worse. You could have had, weirding modulating devices or whatever, like whatever Lynch just smoked some dope and came up with. But it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, there's little things like Mentats are basically a cameo in this universe, and I was sure it's like, does the story work without Thufir? Sure. Do I want to see him? Yeah, I did. And I mean, even him and Piter in part 1, I felt like they were very, very reduced in roles. So
yeah, hugely so. I mean, he filmed scenes for it, so he was all listed
that's
on the
got to
cast.
suck as an actor to film your scenes and they end up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, there was another guy too who was like probably Fenring who did an interview this week. He's like,
did they actually cast a Count Fenring? Oh, okay.
I think so. They didn't ever say. It's like Tim Blake Nelson, I think was his name.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. But he did an interview and he's like, yeah, it's show business, like happens. But yeah, no. So he's just gone. I get it. If you have to cut someone for time, like that's the person to cut. But like, here's the thing. I checked. The Sci-Fi Channel version is 3 90-minute episodes. All right. This version is 2 hour 45-minute movies. This version is longer. The sci-fi version had all these elements in it. So I think the scriptwriter is to blame. I think we had time actually. So I don't know. I don't buy this. I was talking about, because my wife has never read any of these books, right? So I was trying to explain everything. She had no clue the Spacing Guild even existed. I know they're in the one scene in the first movie, but she forgot about them. I know they say the spice is necessary for space travel in the opening of the first movie. She'd forgotten about that. They do not bring it up in this one. They just talk about destroying spice fields, and they just kind of leave it there. Like, I think the ball got really dropped on how Paul's victory works. I feel like, so like in the Lynch version, right around the time Paul joins the Fremen, the movie like goes 8 times faster, right? Because the rough cut of that movie was 4 hours, and I read this today, it was like 4 hours and 20 minutes before the effect shot, so it was probably closer to 5 hours. And like basically it all came out of the back half, right? And I think the first half of the Lynch movie is like pretty good, actually.
Except for Harkonnens, yeah.
Well, sure, but yes, except for the Harkonnens. But these ones aren't exactly the book Harkonnens either. I like them; they're cool, but like Feyd was awesome, but that's not the book's Feyd at all. He's quite a different character, But I think the Lynch movie was like pretty good for that first half. I think a lot of the stuff came out of the back end of this movie too, because that first hour, like the pacing felt really good, like everything was sort of working. And I was, like I said, I loved the movie until about the last half hour, and I was, and of course, like that's the taste you're left with, right? So like I was just sort of, I was pretty disappointed by the end. I was like, wow, we just like blew through the ending. And then there was the Chani thing as the closing shot, so I was, not great. Yeah, I'm with Galahad here. No red hair. What's going on?
I have a theory about that. Apparently, Joe doesn't think I'm letting you talk enough, Christopher. So if I'm not letting you talk enough, let me know. Shut up. I'm talking over you.
I'm sorry. I should let you talk.
No, this, I think the reason that they do this is because me and you talked about this, not actually when we did our 2021 review. But I think we talked about off air. Was we think that since the fact that they cut out where Paul learns about Jessica being, a Harkonnen, I think that was something that they said, okay, well, we're just not going to give anybody red hair, so they'll be like really surprised. I don't think anyone was really like shocked by that revelation or anything, were they? I mean, making them all like alopecia,
Yeah. It was sort of weird seeing baby Jessica though with the Baron. I was not expecting that little flashback there for a second.
Oh man, I disagree. I liked Gurney killing Rabban. I've wanted that forever. So then Rabban just getting killed by some mob. I actually liked that quite a bit. It's funny because me and Christopher were talking about this before, and I said, man, I don't know if it's a real fight though. I feel like Gurney would beat him in 2 moves. When he did beat him in 2 moves, I was like, well, that seems weird to cast Dave Bautista in a role like that, but cool.
Yeah, it was a little weird. Yeah, having Dave Bautista be like this big baby. Uh,
Kissing people's feet and shit. Yeah.
running away from kissing Austin Butler's feet and running away from Timothée Chalamet. Just the idea of Dave Bautista running away from Timothée Chalamet is really funny
Dude,
to me.
when he comes out and he's like going, "Face me, my diva," I was like, dude, I feel like I'm watching WrestleMania right now. He's calling my diva for a fight.
That was like really like that was a really cool segment though. I like the then the Fremen
On the
catches them
back
on the
of the
ramp.
bridge. Yeah,
Again,
that was
all of the
awesome.
action was so good. It was so good. Also like really minor point, but like the Harkonnen pilot with the crazy helmet that was like white cubes and like the weird jaw implants, like that was so neat. Just like all the random like Harkonnen tech was awesome. The little hologram globes they were all looking at and they were chanting while they were typing. It was very Oshi Ghost in the Shell. I was 100% all over that.
Okay,
Thank
Kyle. See,
you. More of that,
that's what I
please.
wanted to know. There was it was people who haven't read the book, were they shocked by that revelation? He's saying yes. So okay, cool. I mean, I was
Cool.
just that's
Great.
I'm curious if that came across, if that was like shocking, because my wife hasn't read it. But, she's watched the other two adaptations with me. So she knows the general idea of what's going to happen. So yeah, I feel like I don't have any gauge to say did that surprise people or not since they did it so late in the movie.
Yeah, I got made fun of for saying this last time vis-a-vis the Rabban point. People are still talking in the chat. I really think Rabban should have at least been in the hallway when Duncan died, which I know is a
Yeah.
change from the book. But I think if you're going to go to the trouble of beefing up Rabban's presence in the movie anyway, which they have, right? I think he's just in one chapter in the book. I think he's just in that chapter where Feyd almost kills the Baron with the kid, right, with the needle. I think it's just that one chapter Rabban's in. And so they've already beefed him up. And if you're going to do that, you may as well make him like more present in like the actual action. And you can use him to strengthen the Gurney plot arc, which, ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕦𝕤 was saying they didn't even have him mention it when they were fighting. And I really wish they would have beat that up a little bit to give Brolin and Bautista a little more to do. Because Gurney doesn't do that much in the movie either, right? Like I kind of wish I just like Josh Brolin a lot. I wish he would have had a little bit more to do. I mean, it felt he was underserved in the first one too. I mean, there was no Balisette in part one.
Oh, Dan, I
Sad.
used to have a checklist of all the things that I felt like Star Wars probably borrowed from Frank Herbert. And I don't think that George Lucas has ever really hidden from that, honestly. I mean, he even made Jabba the Hutt after God Emperor came out, So
as someone in the same position, right? Like, why would you, right? I think George might have taken a few more things than me. But,
yeah, just a little bit.
But
So
like people read from their own experience,
of
however,
course,
anachronistic their perception of
whatever,
reality.
dude. Why don't you rip off some Dune and Dan Simmons again, Christopher? God.
Don't try me. I will.
So when we said we hoped that they get a part two, back when that was actually in question, were we going to get a part two? We said, what was something that you want to see the most? We both said, well, I want to see Paul riding Sandworm. So did that scene live up to your hopes and dreams? Because for me, I thought it was awesome.
Oh, hell yeah. No, that was...
IMAX is worth it for that scene, yeah.
Yeah, so good. No, all the Sandworm stuff was awesome. No, I like they actually like bothered to like work out the logistics of like getting on the there and showing you like really properly. Like it all made sense visually. They didn't have to explain anything. It was great. They like even did the palanquin, right, which was really cool.
I hope that I'm looking forward to seeing like a full on like in-depth making of for this movie, see how they actually do this stuff with the worms, because again, I can't tell what's CGI and what's obviously I know there ain't some giant, unless they've got some giant sandworm I never knew about. But I mean, it's like you hear those people talk about, oh, like Superman back in 1978, you'll believe a man can fly. I was like, I believe someone was riding sandworms in these because it looks so good. So I can't wait to see the making of this, see how they did some of this stuff.
Yeah, no, it was all so great. I really liked the like monk lady too, like catching the little one and like like wrestling it into the water.
Yeah, that was
cool. It was all really
because
cool.
I used to be like, how do they get sandworm drool? Just go up and be like, wait till it's asleep and just like put a bottle under it and get some off of its chin. How does this exactly work? So that's pretty cool.
It was neat to see, and it was neat that they like thought all of that stuff out, right? I just really appreciate all the like little details that they bothered to work out for all of this stuff, right? It was great.
We also said, because I listened to it this morning, we also said that we thought part 2 would open with Feyd in as a gladiator scene at the beginning of this movie. What we thought was going to happen. So I won't lie. We're halfway past the movie and we still haven't been introduced to Feyd. And I started getting worried. But I thought Giedi Prime was amazing. I love the aesthetic choice that they used. I thought it was so damn cool. I love like the fireworks that they had going off and stuff that looked so cool. Our nitpicks aside, I think this whole scene was just amazing. I thought the fight choreography was great. I really liked Austin Butler as Feyd.
I did too. I thought he was great.
Exactly like the book, no, but I still feel like he's the best of the 3 so far. But
yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm just saying, like they still not gotten the character exactly right. He's like a more competent like Joffrey, Baratheon, right? Like he's kind of whiny and pouty, and and he's an entitled little aristocrat, right? He's not like he's not like this is like a weird company. He's not like Buffalo Bill, right? Like this guy is like he's a complete maniac, right? He's he's like feeding people to his concubines, right?
Yeah,
like that was something.
I like the black teeth too. That was really cool.
Yeah, no, like visually it was all like, again, no red hair, but like everything looks so neat, right? And there's a little bit of an homage to like the Jodorowsky plan in the architecture, right? Like it's all very Geiger-esque, which is all cool. I don't really have like any notes on the Giedi Prime stuff. I thought it was all really awesome.
What do you think about him using a Stellan Skarsgård voice? Do you think that was a problem? Because I had some people saying, like, why doesn't Rabban talk like that? And I'm like, well, because Dave Bautista probably can't talk like that. I don't know.
Look, like he wanted to do it. I think it was a choice, and I think it if you want to make a case that it like brings Feyd closer to Vladimir, I think you could say that like, oh, he's like trying to be more like his uncle. That's fine. Look, I have a friend I haven't spoken to in years who is English, has a British accent, but his brother, who's like a year younger than him, they grew up here, doesn't at all. Now, I personally think my friend was leaning into it on purpose. I think he like tried really hard to keep it, but that's just me bullying him. But like it can't happen, right? My brothers both sound substantially more Southern than I do. And I don't know why. But so like that doesn't bother me that much. But I thought he was great. The Coliseum was great. You had the I think it was the like lieutenant from the flight scene at the beginning with Duncan in the hangar in the first movie. Like,
see, I was like, are these actually Atreides? Or is he just saying that to like rile all the crowd? Because I didn't recognize any of them.
Oh no, it was the one guy that didn't get drugged was one of the flight lieutenants. Like he was like he was in the first movie. So like that was like a nice little thing they did, actually. He was a guy, he just wasn't like an important one. But like that was all cool. I like the spooky like clown picadors with the like barbs. They were lodging in this like I like those goofy like very Fellini-esque hats. Like it was very like just very unsettling. Yeah, Lanville, that's his name.
Hey Dan, it's funny that you say that the Elvis thing, because there was one part after the fight where he goes up there and he talks to Vladimir, and my wife's like, "Am I watching Elvis and the Colonel again?" I actually laughed out loud in the theater.
There was a minute when Feyd says "darlings" where he did sound a little like Elvis, and I was like, there he is.
I think that guy just got an incredibly bright future. I think he's a phenomenal, and he put up so much work into this knife fighting because he wanted this knife fight to be so good.
Yeah, him and Timothy both did it, I think, is my understanding. So like, good for them. Like that's awesome. You love to see it.
So
and
let's talk
that
about
fight was
lady Fenring here. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about some of this stuff when we talk about our Messiah speculation, but the part with her securing the air. Look, she wouldn't even have to use the voice on me, and she could secure the air every time. Yeah. But outside of that, I thought it was a really cool the way you did. Like, you didn't know what was really happening or not. You're showing this is how the Bene Gesserit honey dick you. And the thing is, made me laugh is like thinking that he's just such a freak that he probably got off on the whole put your hand in the box, ℙ𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤 thing. So he passed that with no problems.
Yeah, it was interesting. They tested him. you know, I hadn't thought about that. I guess they must have, right?
Mhm.
Oh, it was neat to see that. Oh, the Lisa in the comments is saying that the guy who wasn't drugged was this fight coordinator.
Oh, nice.
Man, if that's true, awesome. That's really neat.
Yeah, good
It's
for him.
like
That's a nice reward.
sneaking old Nick Gillard into Star Wars so he could get killed by Anakin, right?
So you were iffy on the soundtrack. I know you're not a big Hans guy. I love Hans. I understand why you don't. He does sometimes get a little crazy with the bomb, you know.
No,
But
I'm just more old fashioned myself.
I still feel like this soundtrack like leveled up even over part one. I love that he added a little bit of that like electric guitar kind of sound. Almost kind of got some Blade Runner mixing in there. I
Oh
like
yeah, like the romance theme
yeah.
definitely had a little Vangelis thing going on for sure. No, I think I like the music better this time around. It grew on me. I just like really wanted to leave the movie with like, you know, humming a new tune, and none of those songs really are earworms in the way that like a John Williams piece is.
Oh, I see what you did there. Earworms.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, you gotta watch
Stay
out for
on brand.
those.
I
Yeah,
mean,
so
I
that
do,
was a
but
Wrath of Khan reference.
I also listen to the soundtracks like nonstop. So but I get where you're coming from. But
Yeah, I like the Dune sketchbook album substantially better than the outright soundtrack for Volume One, because the pieces all have a little bit more room to breathe. I've listened to all three of them because there's a soundtrack for the art book too, right?
I think that's what I have. It's like a
Art
2 disc version, something. I don't
is
know.
there's the actual soundtrack, there's the Dune sketchbook, and there's the art and soul of Dune. I'm hoping he'll do more for these two. It'd be cool.
But here's a question, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying, "Oh, you're stupid, you didn't get it." Because guys, look, you can read Dune the book and completely miss all this stuff. Do you think they're getting across to non-readers that they're getting across Paul's visions of the ℚ𝕙𝕤𝕤𝕤? Do you think they're getting that across very well? Do you think it's making sense to people that maybe this guy isn't a hero? Like they're trying to, like so a lot of people always try to go into reading Dune. That's what they think. Are they getting that across? Are people going to be as stunned as I was when I was 15? I picked up Dune Messiah for the first time, or are they doing a better job of kind of showing you those hints?
I don't know that the full scale of the jihad was communicated as clearly as I would have liked it to be. Like I said, I like visions, more vision,
They just
please.
keep
Right?
showing, oh yeah, millions of people are going to starve. I mean,
We got a little
a
bit
lot
of
more than
that.
that.
I think the visions were better in the first half, right? Where you've got like the Atreides frigate and Paul and Chani are standing there,
Yeah, I love
right?
that shot.
You know, like all of that, like more of that would have been good, right? You know, something sort of like in the sci-fi miniseries, the opening scene of the Messiah episode, there's like a whole battle on some random
Yeah.
planet, right? And I think some of that would be really good. That would have been a great way to like have a scene that wasn't just, you know, sand too, like, you know, have a vision that's set somewhere else. Um, you know, or snaps of visions from different places. We see like the Fedaykin like leveling Catane or something, or you know, I think that would have been nice. Because like all we've got right now is the one like starving guy on his knees, right? And I think it was Jessica walking through the sand. But yeah, I don't think that a lot of this stuff uh is super well communicated. Uh but yeah, maybe it could
When
be
I bring
clearer.
that up, I'm not trying to make people feel stupid or something. I'm just curious if that's getting across because a lot of people were like, "Hey, this is like the new Luke Skywalker." Not even close, you guys. It's not even close. It's just not. But it's one of those things where like I don't want to set your expectations one way or the other. I'm just curious if that's getting across of how dangerous this guy is actually, you know, and what Frank's actual message in that book is. But look, I didn't pick some of these things up to like my third or fourth reading of reading Dune. You
Yeah,
know,
so yeah, I have like a whole soapbox about this because I actually think like I think Frank goofed when he wrote the first book. Like I just don't think he communicated this very well, and I think he like needed to write Messiah to
get that across.
concretize this. And I think the reason that most people who like Dune don't like the sequels is because he makes it clearer and they don't
Yeah.
actually like it. I think the message does not resonate with most people.
So just the
Uh,
prologue, I think, of Dune Messiah at 15, I was like, what? Yeah.
yeah, also skipping the whole jihad is like actually like Frank's biggest sin is, you know, he should have written that book. We should have like seen things get worse
And it's the only
instead of
reason I read Paul of Dune.
Yeah. I know. And look, I feel the same way about it you do. I think it's the best one of the additional books.
It's readable. I'll take it.
It,
I'll leave it at that. It's readable.
yeah, it at least tries to go and fix what I think is a real problem. But like the first book does not actually portray Paul as villainous. This movie kind of does. This movie maximizes this theme, right? This idea that like Paul is not good actually. And I think because this is actually like I'm kind of in this camp. Like I don't actually like Frank's message. It's one of the reasons why I like became a writer in the first place. Um, and and so I think part of the reason this movie is bouncing for me is because it maximizes the thing about Dune I don't like, which is this message. Because the other thing is like, yes, like Dune is about like this charismatic leader like running off with people's hearts and like leading them to destruction. But one, like what he does for the Fremen is make their planet suck less. So like it's kind of a confusing message. And two, what he's also doing, the Golden Path is about freeing humanity from people like Paul forever, right? Which requires that Paul be Paul and requires that the God Emperor be the God Emperor. And if not for Paul and Leto II, humanity would probably be extinct. And so, like, Frank's message is very confusing. Tyranny bad, except these two tyrants who saved us from everything is, I mean, it's kind of a lot, actually.
That's why it's very hard for people to digest to see. Like I said, reading God Emperor of Dune as a teenager, I was like, I don't think I'm mentally prepared for something like this, you know? But yeah, I know. He's just jumping all over the place, ain't he? I know. God, Christopher.
Yeah, I look, I got in trouble once when I was in college for spoiling the death of King Arthur. And I just ever since have been like, yeah, I've been bad about this because like it's been out for 40 years.
No,
know.
that's just like what I was like. Look, guys, I'm going to talk about what happens in The Hobbit. Sorry, you should have read it by now. Yeah, that's how before the movies came.
Yeah, so you know, but that is assuming their prescience is completely right. But like that is the assumption the books make, right? By and large, you know, but.
See, now I'm the other way around. I like Frank's messages about don't trust Messiah figures. You know, it's never quite what it seems. But I do like that they kind of show that like Paul wants to do the right thing. He just doesn't. He Doctor Strange it. He sees like the 14 billion freaking possibilities in the one that's going to be the best of them. Now, obviously, in game it went a little better than this did. But I'm just saying that you know he's trying to do the right thing, but there's just so many things because there's threads within threads within threads that you'll go back after you read Children of Dune and you'll be like, oh, okay, you can go back and you reread. And that might be how it was for me. I might have, after I read those, go back and I read Dune with a completely different viewpoint. And I saw a lot of things I didn't see on that first reading. So curious. I mean, I do know that that was a big deal for Disney to kind of get that across a little harder than Frank did with these movies. And that's just kind of why I was asking, is that getting across? Because I did see a lot of, I don't want to say hero worship, but a lot of people like, oh yeah, Paul's a leader we can all follow. And I'm like, well.
Well, in the original book, he is. Despite Frank Herbert's best intentions. But yeah, no, I do think that was part of my problem here is I think it is sort of overcorrecting for the Lynch version's ending in a lot of ways. But I don't think the ending here works as any better. I think controversially, maybe just do the book's ending. Maybe just do that. We don't need it to rain, but we also don't need Shani to run away. These are like neither of those things happened actually. Maybe the original ending was the right one. So
no, you're right. And I think if my biggest complaint of anything like this, and this is just the pitfall of when you do a movie over a TV series, yes, you get the bigger budget, but you don't get as much time to spread everything out. My biggest problem with everything is I wish they had more time. And I think about, well, what would I have cut? I didn't need to go see like the atomics reconnaissance mission. You could just told me, hey, yeah, we got the atomics have been secured. You know, I didn't need to see. It was neat, but it was just like, I would have rather seen like, you know, mentats or something like that, you know?
Yeah, and like, look, like maybe the cuts were something like, you know, we take like 10 seconds out of like this, you know, here, and we take 10 seconds there. I mean, I took 50,000 words out of Disquiet Gods, and I didn't cut a single chapter. I added one, right? Like you have options. There was probably a way to do this. But you know, like again, like I would love the extended cut. You know, there's a lot of stuff I would like to see.
This is right, and I feel like it's going to be a problem. We're going to talk about Messiah here in a little bit. Don't worry. Our projections, I guess you would call them for Messiah. But
yeah, I'm with you.
I
I'm with you there.
know that like it's like a sin to do like killing a baby or something on screen, but that made the Harkonnens so much more evil.
You can kill him off screen.
I felt like
he dies off screen off stage in the book.
I don't see why it can't be done. I mean, I think about I forget something I was watching recently where that was something that was supposed to happen and it didn't happen on the show. It was a TV show I was watching. I forget, and I was like, I guess you. I feel like they feel like the filmmakers feel like that's gonna be bad karma if I kill a baby or something, you know. But with this, it's like that plays into so much other stuff, and with them having kids down the line, kind of thing. It's just such a big deal, you know. And it being, you know, Leto the Second, the elder. And it's just, I don't know. I hated that it wasn't there. I hated that. I felt like that was, I hated that even more than Thufir not being in this.
Well, like I said too, it also reduces the menace of the enemies, right? In the competency of the enemies, because the cost of Paul's offensive on Shaddam's tent in the book is the death of his son, right? He makes that choice. He doesn't know that's the consequence when he makes the choice, right? But if we move some of the things around, like did ℙ-𝕤𝕤𝕤 need to get destroyed? No. We could have destroyed the southern like bigger ℙ where the baby lives, right? And we could have done that instead, because that's like an actual like strategic target. If you're Shaddam Carino, right, I'm going to get Muad'Dib's family, right, which is what he does. And it makes him a credible villain for the final act of the novel. You know, because he does something strategic and smart, right? It's not just, you know, unspool on the desert and wait for the worms to eat you. You know, I think that we needed a bit more from Shaddam in the end. I think we needed more threat and menace from the villains in the final act, because it kind of feels like they all just kind of lay down. Except for Feyd, and get rolled over. You know, and then you're left with the Sardaukar like flinching when the Fremen, you know, come to get them after they've already won the battle. Like, you know, yeah.
No, I don't disagree with that. But hey, you guys heard her first. Mike wants you to kill more babies, apparently,
in movies. Yeah.
So someone was asking about they didn't really understand the water of life thing. That's really just basically it's like how you obtain prescience, but the thing is like no man's ever taken it and lived, you know. And obviously this is something. The whole thing with like the tears and all that was completely fabricated. I don't know what that was all about, but
yeah, it's so the spice. So for anybody who doesn't know, the spice is psychogenic, right, or psychotropic. It like makes you have visions and do stuff. And for people who are genetically optimized to process it by the Bene Gesserit breeding program over the last 10,000 years, it lets you, it expands your consciousness in such a way that lets you see time, right? You can see parallel futures. This helps the space navigators fold space, so they don't fold space through a sun, right? But it also like lets the Bene Gesserit Reverend Mothers like experience the genetic memory of all of their female ancestors, and they like want a man who can do it because they don't have a Y chromosome, so they're missing out on half of their genetic lineage. And so they like discovered you can do this with like a really concentrated form of the spice that these worms make if you drown them. You know, and you know, so they use it for this purpose. But the Fremen, obviously, like their religion is a dupe of the Bene Gesserit, so they like are performing these rituals themselves outside of Bene Gesserit direct oversight on the planet. We kind of like probably needed more of that in the movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure the prescience was actually clear that he's, you know, can see be many places at once, you know.
Yeah, it wasn't clear that what he was doing was like getting the full vision, right, and like becoming becoming God. This is like one of the things too, right? Is that like actually those prophecies are true. This is one of the like other things is like, oh, look at this like cynical like religious manipulation that's like totally predicting a thing that could actually happen and is happening right now.
Mm.
Like what did Frank mean by this? But this is a whole thing. But anyway, that
They
was
kind of left in about the emperor is that like he did love Leto. He did. He was just he feared that he was becoming so popular. What do you do to hang on to power? So I think
yeah.
I don't think that the emperor was just full on like evil man. I don't think so. I mean, you would see in this that he doesn't want to go the way that it does, but he's going to do what it takes to hang on to power. Which
I more or less liked Shaddam in this. I thought he was good. I love Christopher Walken. I wish he was in there more. But like I especially liked the first scene he's in where he like doesn't say anything, right? And Irulan's talking about how hard it was on him to order the Atreides be liquidated. I thought that was great.
I think Florence Pugh will be great in Messiah. I think she'll be good in that role for sure. You'll be seeing plenty of that, I think. And like I said, that's just kind of those things where you just kind of set some stuff up for the future. I think with her and Anya Taylor-Joy, without a doubt. So we already kind of talked about the Paul killing. Look, I'm just going to talk about the Sandworm scene because I want to say this is the first time since, probably Return of the King, where I was like driven to the point of like tears because it's like something I never thought that I'd actually see on the big screen. And when you see like a dozen sandworms come roaring in, it was just so amazing. It was just one of those, like the Ride of the Rohirrim. It's just like nothing that's sad. It's just so powerful that you're actually seeing something that you've imagined, for 30 years of your life and getting to see that moment. And it hit all the right notes for me. And I was very, very happy, because a lot of that stuff you see in the book sometimes it's like, hey, there's something going on outside. We're going to focus on what's going on here. Oh, look, there's a big battle. You missed it, So we actually get to see these things on the screen. So I prefer that when it comes to Denny and his, it's about visuals, not dialogue. I mean, I kind of disagree, but I get where you're coming from. And I think Dune is something that kind of will play into that. And that scene especially was just magnificent.
I like the Sandworm part of the battle. I just wish the rest of the battle had sort of like lived up to it. I felt like it was over way, 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 way too quickly. And it was like less sophisticated too, right? Like you had the Sandworm attacks. We did a little bit of the strategy, but like the rest of it amounted to the Fremen and the Sardaukar running at each other in an open field, which is like actually not how battles like that work, right? Like, and like when you compare that to that first spice harvester thing where they're like, they flank it and they like crawl underneath and they have to like get out before the little spice pickers like smash them, right? And they're hiding behind the legs. Like that was all very good, right? I was thinking about I always talk about HBO's Rome, right? The like first battle scene in that show, you've got the Roman legionaries like rotating ranks so that they can like protect the people who are just fighting for 5 minutes who are exhausted, and they're doing all of that. And then like there are like every show since is just just like Romans just like hurling themselves at Germans, and it's just like we like have it look like these guys know what they're doing. I don't know. I did not like the rest of the battle. Sandworms were awesome. Were awesome.
No, I don't disagree. It's funny that you bring this up, Chris. My wife actually asked me, "How do you get off of a sandworm?" I was like, maybe do a U-turn and just hop off when it's your time. I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, it's funny. Funny you mention that because I saw an interview where Denis was like, "I figured out how to do it. This is the one thing of all the things that I like really like wanted to get in the movie that I like didn't get in the movie." So like he has an answer. I like that like he himself is like thinking about like all of these like little like practical considerations. I read too like with Irulan's Dictatel, right? Like he's like, I want it to have like a spindle, right? Like it's like she's like spinning threads, right? And so he's like, like these are very small details. It's like David Lynch like doing all the carpentry for his sets, right? Like I like that he's that involved on like that little level.
Do you think we can answer this one without talking about like the Golden Path? I don't really think you can you?
Probably not. And to answer your second question, the answer to that one is no. Actually, Sandworms of Dune is bad. That is not what it is about at all. Because the Butlerian Jihad was never Terminator in space. Kind of like those books is their own thing. but that's not what Frank was talking about at all. I strenuously disagree with Kevin on this.
Is Sandworms of Dune 7?
It's 8. Hunters is 7. Then
all I
Sandworms.
remember was getting halfway through 7 and like literally crying because it was so bad. Just like, why did you do this? Why did you do this? Yeah. So, and that's from someone who thought that Heretics and Chapter House were just okay. So,
yeah, I'm with you. I usually don't reread 5 and 6. I love Miles Tegg so much, but he's like the only good part of those last 2 books.
So before we complain about the ending, let's talk about the knife fight, because I mean, I feel like that had so many expectations. And I mean, I don't know why, because you think the first 2 adaptations, they weren't particularly great fights or anything like this. What I didn't expect was 2 things. One, I didn't expect it to be so damn visceral as it was, and not many cuts. So like you said, these 2 really put in the work to do this. Not many camera cuts, but like no music. And I thought that actually like raised it. I mean, this is a movie that's really like the music's almost like a character in this movie. And to have no music during that scene, I thought it made it way, way more like, oh shit, this is real business here.
Completely real. Yeah, it was very grounded. It was, you know, at the end of it all, it was like 2 dudes just slugging it out for, you know, fact check true. You know, just fighting. You know, we stripped away all of the, you know, all the instrumentation, all the ornamentation, and it was just the fight, and you had to like pay attention to it because they were sneaky about it there at the end, right? And I watched a little, I can't remember the channel, it was a really small channel. YouTube randomly recommended this video to me. I feel bad because it had like 30 subscribers, and he made this point that like Paul getting stabbed, right, so that he could then get Feyd, right, is re-articulating the a human stays in the trap thing, and it kills his trapper to remove a threat to his kind. Like, there's a little bit of the ℓ𝕤𝕤 ethos and how they laid the scene out, and I thought that was a really really wonderful point that this guy made. I feel terrible I can't remember his name.
Philip actually texted me about this, and he was like, so how did Paul like be okay with like getting stabbed like 3 times? Like, hey, he's got like, you know, foresight. He saw where it was okay to get stabbed and lived, I guess, you know. When you know the ending for yourself, I guess it just all works out, right?
Yeah, well, if you've read Sandworms of Dune, you know he pulls the blood all back inside of him. I think that's what happens. I've read that book once. I think that's what happens.
I can't believe you read 8 after how awful 7 was. Yeah. Hey, people like your haircut, man. People like your haircut.
Yeah, thank you. This is how I'm supposed to look. I just like don't get my hair cut that often.
You got writer's hair sometimes. It's cool. So, you ain't got time to go get a haircut. You're writing.
Yeah, you know, it's like every like 2-3 months I'll go get a haircut. But once it starts to get too long on the sides, you know, it's time. But
I did kind of
you guys caught me like within a week of the new haircut.
So Paul says, you know, may the knife chip and shatter, and then like Feyd, you can see like he's trying to think of something clever to say, and then he just says it back. It's like when someone has a really good burn, just like, yeah, it's pretty good. You know, I don't really know what else to say, but he does the typical James Bond villain thing, or the mountain, and or not the mountain, but the Oberyn, and he kind of like brags a little bit instead of just like going over there and finishing it, you know, because you had him beat. You know, but it's a great fight. I don't feel like it could have been done any better. I feel
I love the little fake out at the end too. I thought they were. It's funny because everyone I think knows I hate this movie, but I thought they were pulling a Green Knight on us for a second, and like it was a vision, and they were gonna like back out, and they were gonna do the fight again, and Paul was just going to like Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes him in like 1 second.
Right.
I haven't said that out loud. That would have been really cool. But
I thought about that too, because in part 1 they had that vision where Chani stabs him and kills him, you know. So I thought that's what they were doing as well. But I was like, that's such a great fight. Let's not redo it.
Yeah, no. I thought it was great though. And you know, I feel like I haven't been like effusive enough with my praise here. I thought Austin Butler was awesome. Just like absolutely tremendous presence, right? I think he outshone, you know, the Baron in like every scene he was in, right? And like Stellan Skarsgård is Stellan Skarsgård. But he was great, so great.
I mean, this is a totally different conversation, but I tell people Golden Path, stop after God Emperor.
Yep,
because Frank didn't finish it.
That's the right move, because there is no real Dune.
You just want to know the Atreides story, stop after God Emperor. That's what I say. All right.
Besides, ℓ𝕤𝕤 is sort of the like template of like what Frank's point is, and the actual point is made in ℓ𝕤𝕤, and you do not need to read what comes after it, because I don't want to say that 5 and 6 are pure, are really starting to like milk the golden, milk the golden calf here. But like I don't know that they need to exist.
I was I wonder how he would have finished it off if it would have been one of those things where I go back and I look at it and like, okay, I can see what's doing, but like while I was reading, I was like, is the thrill gone? Am I just getting older or whatever? But yeah, it's why I always just kind of tell people, Christopher, why do you hate the Green Knight?
I hate the Green Knight because it completely either misunderstands or rejects the original that it is based on. It is deeply antagonistic to its source material in about every way. It is also like hugely pretentious and wastes my time as a viewer. It does not use its screen time wisely or well.
I thought the movie was fine, but I also never read the original, so that was fine. It was nothing I'd ever watch again.
There was like some cool elements to it. I thought the Green Knight himself and like the sort of horror elements in the movie, like that was kind of an interesting sort of take. But on balance, look, I
expected this conversation to go.
It's all. I saw Isaac was it's Isaac's fault because he mentioned it on one of my streams once, and I just like went off on this movie for like 10 minutes because I almost like left. The one reason I did not leave the movie was because it was it was the day my city reimposed masks during quarantine, and they went into effect halfway through the movie. And if I just sat there, I could be in public for like 1 more hour and like pretend I didn't know. That was the one reason I didn't leave. But I went and got another drink and just sat there and was miserable.
So you ready to see Christopher flip tables, you guys? Let's talk about the ending here. Look, I have problems with the third act. I have problems with the third act of the book, and that's my favorite book ever. And I don't feel like being critical of it takes anything away from it. So I feel like there's some things that I could deal with. I could accept. Like I can accept what they did. I don't like what they did with Alia, but I can accept that. I didn't like that it wasn't Thufir. I can accept that the story does work without it. I can accept no baby Leto. But really taking out history will call us wives. I was like, that's just feels wrong. It's like that's like ending Lord of the Rings without Well, I'm Back. I was like, what are you doing, man? I don't understand that. And look, I can understand on a human level. Yeah, sure. Chani's going to be a bit heartbroken. I get that. I didn't think that needed to be the last scene of the movie, was her tantrum.
Yeah, it was a really sour note to end on. If there'd been even one scene after that, I might not be quite as negative as I have been for this last hour and 7 minutes. It more than leaving out the line, right? Because I could forgive not having the line, although like last lines are very important, right? And so like maybe it should be there, but because it is thematically important, right? It is for Chani, it is about the same thing that most of the book is about for Paul, right? Which is that Paul, the person, and Paul, the impact on history, are two different phenomena, right? And so Chani, like, might have been sidelined officially, right? But like in a long count of years, people will know the truth, right? And this ties into the central theme of the book, right? This sort of distance between the man and the legend, right? However, good or evil that legend or the reality may be, right? And so to take that away is, I think, a big mistake. And also just ending the movie so abruptly, just so it's as abrupt as the first one. There's this horrendous article on IGN where this person is talking about how someone in the theater 2 rows behind them complains like, oh, there's another non-ending, and like they wrote like 2,000 words about how this guy is a big dummy. That guy's completely right. Like it is another non-ending, and if there's not a part 3, it's not great actually, it's turning the book into something that it isn't. Now maybe the motivation here is to sort of tie Messiah into like one gestalt, right? Like into one piece. Because my understanding is that like Messiah was envisioned as like the part 4 of Dune, the big novel, right? you know. And so maybe Denis like, I want to like fix that mistake the publishing industry made, not allowing the book to be even longer in the 60s, right? Maybe. But like changing Chani's character so profoundly, and so profoundly in a way that is going to radically affect the sequel unless they like kind of do something to walk it back pretty quickly.
Well, someone's saying that they think that they're going to do a spin-off show with that, because if seriously, if they write that into Dune Messiah, that's going to be very disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, like, are we talk like, are we going to see the twins at all? Right? It seems like the answer is like probably no, because it's going to be weird if you end on that note and then you pick up the movie after a time skip and like they're okay? Question mark.
Well, Paul does say in this that he's talking to Jessica. He does basically say she'll come around, and I mean I'm hoping that that's it, and we just maybe through some exposition say it was a long hard road, but hey, we're back. But I'm not convinced they're going to have the 12-year time jump. But I'm jumping ahead of myself here.
Yeah, I'm not convinced they are either. Because they're not going to want to wait that long, and I don't see. I mean, Timothée Chalamet is what, 28. I don't see him suddenly looking 40 in any of the next like 5 years, right? Like I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I think like I said, you could explain away Alia's aging because rapid aging because of her situation. So you can kind of explain that away. It's one of those things where, like, I know he wants to take a break and do other things. I don't think he wants to take a 10-year break to film this movie. I think he wants to do his Rendezvous with Rama movie, which is cool. As long as he keeps making sci-fi, I'm going to keep watching it. But it's just, I don't think they're going to force him, but they're going to say, look, this shit is hot right now. We don't need to take us. We don't want 2029 before we see Dune Part 3 or Dune Messiah, whatever they call it. So I'm hoping that if they do that, I mean, I feel like you can age people up more than you can age them down. But sometimes it doesn't really go over very well. I don't know. I mean, you didn't use the time jump in this. I'm not convinced we'll do a 12-year time jump between this and Messiah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it couldn't be like. I mean, it would have to be more like 20 years to account for.
I mean, to be fair, Paul's what, 17, 18 at this point in the book, anyway. So
right, and so like this is what you could do, right? Like the actors are actually substantially older than the characters are supposed to be, so you could like probably do. You could do something, right? But
I feel like this is the part where I should tell people, okay, guys, we're going to get into Messiah speculation now. So if you haven't read Dune Messiah and maybe Children of Dune as well, because we're going to touch on some of those things, you've been warned. I feel like it's going to be different enough that I don't feel like it's going to ruin anything for you, but we are going to talk about those things now. We talk about what we think will and will not be in Dune Part 3 / Messiah. So, okay, continue, Christopher. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I mean, so like this is the big problem, right? It's like, what does this mean for the kids, right? Because Dune Messiah is largely about those kids being born, right? Now, I don't think in any universe are we going to see a Dune Part 3 that's like all like Chani taking fertility treatments and like trying to.
No, we're talking about this. There's no way they're going to have him do that and be like fucking laying in a bed and then peace out after the kids are born. There's zero chance they're going to do that.
Yeah, but I don't know what we're going to do here. I just, it really like the ending just does not sit well with me because it sets up a book 2, a movie 3 that is that's true, Matt.
I think all sci-fi readers got a little bit of freak in them, right, Christopher?
I don't know about all, but man, like way too many do. Yeah, no. But like, look, like Paul and Chani trying to have kids is not the freaky part. The freaky part is like everything else, right? Read Heretics of Dune, man.
I mean, look at the Dune. Okay, look at the sci-fi miniseries when they do Children of Dune, which part 1 is Dune Messiah, basically. Those actors aren't aged up at all. They tell you the prologue. It's been 12 years since then. So I just don't think that's gonna be a sticking point where they say, oh, we've got to wait a decade before we can make this movie.
No, they can totally just get by it. There's no. I'm glad they're not trying to rush it out in 6 months, right? It's not Captain America 27.
Oh, I think Warner Brothers is going to try. They're going to see, because look, this is going to make double what the first movie made. It's already on pace for that. The first one, its full worldwide run was like 400 million. Those will probably hit that by the end of next weekend. So we don't have to worry anymore about, is this movie going to happen? It's going to be like, when does it happen? But I think that Warner Brothers, they see dollar signs and they're going to be like, well, can we convince you to do this movie now?
Yeah, according to legend, the TV show is supposed to be by the end of the year. Max is supposed to get Penguin sometime in the middle of the year, which I'm pretty excited for, and then it's supposed to get Dune Prophecy, I think it's called now.
Whatever happened? It's not Sisterhood of Dune anymore.
No,
Dune
it's still based on the Kevin Bryan book, but they changed the title.
I still think this is something that Denny had them throw to Brian Herbert to keep him off of his movie set. I'm so convinced that's what it was. Give him like an HBO series or something to get him out of here. Well, listen to the
man, I think they really missed a step. I think the show should have been like the Margot Fendring, like Marie Harkonnen stuff.
Oh, so you want like full on like shared universe, like filling all the gaps kind of thing?
If they're gonna do a show, if you have,
they've got to do Mentats of Dune. That way we actually get Mentats.
If we have to do it, that's how we do it. Yes, Antonio, there's going to be a show on HBO Max apparently by the end of the year. Denis is no longer like doing anything for it.
But it's supposed to focus on the Bene Gesserit, isn't it?
Yeah, like early on, it's about it's based on Sisterhood of Dune. It's about
so it's going to be about installing the Missionaria Perspectiva.
Yeah, and like the Harkonnen sisters who are in it. So it's like the Harkonnen aren't bad yet, and Mark Strong is in it. He's the Emperor. So
I'm going to show my age here. I have no idea what Gen Z loves about Zendaya. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just like, look, I think I can see why people love Timothée Chalamet. I can. But I was like, I've seen Zendaya in like 4 things now, and I'm just like, she's not bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with Neutral.
I got a TikTok order or something. I don't know.
She was the weakest link. I saw a couple people who were like surprised that Timothée Chalamet was able to sell the like.
Yeah, they didn't think he could be like a leader. Yeah.
Yeah, which I saw The King, which the only good thing about The King was his performance as a leader in that movie. He was pretty good in that. It sucked, but he was awesome.
As long as they don't let Brian write it.
A show about the Butlerian Jihad would literally just be a documentary about our time because it's not Terminator, right? It's about people using artificial intelligence to control populations. So, and like related technologies.
I know, and that's it. It's a me thing. And clearly, everybody loves her. I'm just not seeing what everybody else does. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so she isn't a word. All right. Like there are a lot of things that have words that I don't like. Like other people's opinions are of no value. Like everybody likes their own opinion best. I don't like. I haven't seen Euphoria because I am not going to watch it.
Why didn't they have the dinner table scene in part 1? I don't know. We still think it's real. We think it exists.
Time.
Hashtag release the Dune Part 1 cut. I don't know. I got to think of something better for that. Okay, all right. Back to Dune Messiah here. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to do some rapid fire kind of questions here because I made a Twitter thread the other day about what I think they will and will not put in Dune Messiah based off of the way that Denny has set these things up. So there are 5 major players in Dune Messiah that are looking to see Paul overthrown. You got Reverend Mother Gaius ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤 for the Bene Gesserit. You got Irulan, obviously, who's wife and name only at this point. Do you call her Empress? Or is she just wife and name only? How's that work? Do you call her?
That's a good question. I think she is Empress Consort. I think.
Okay. Edric is representing the Spacing Guild. You got Saitel's Talaxu, and Korba is basically like the splinter cell of the Fremen. So you've got 5 major people. The fact that you couldn't even put Mentats in these first 2 weeks makes it they're gonna pare this down a little bit. I think it's just going to be House Carino and the Bene Gesserit. I think
maybe the guild will finally come in.
Zero chance we see Edric. Zero.
You think 0? I was thinking it was more like 10%, which is a bummer because he's awesome. I don't know.
I want to see all of them. I want to see all of them. I feel like they're going to think that's too convoluted.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Which again, I think is crazy because the Sci-Fi Channel did this in 90 minutes, and it's actually great. It is one of the most faithful adaptations of anything that I've ever seen. I agree. The Messiah episode.
Saitel was so hammy on that. I loved it.
he was so great. Hammy. Whatever the need, we have the breed. Yeah.
And so but then the other side of it is like, I think they're going to want to use Jason Momoa, so I don't know if they're going to get rid of the face dancers completely because I think
they've got
they
to
could
do it, man.
have just Reverend Mother or something be like that. Oh, we got these from the Talaxu or something like that. This Gola of hate of what's hate, right? I think they're called
Hate, yeah,
hate, yeah, hate, which is just a
hate.
clone of Duncan, Idaho. So I think they could do that, but otherwise, I'm just like, dude, I want to see face dancers so bad. I just feel like they're not going to do them.
Yeah, they have to though, because if you don't do Duncan, like, what's the point? Like, actually, what, like, Duncan is the main character. Spoilers. And like, if you just drop him,
But dude, a lot of people said like they felt like in the movie they didn't really see how Paul and Channy, they didn't really understand the love stories. Like it's way more developed on this movie than it is in the book. Honestly, it's just like, hey, I love you. Okay, cool. But I feel like honestly, Alia and Hate's relationship is way more believable. Their romance is way more believable. Honestly, the way it comes about, I think it's actually much better done.
Yeah. I don't know. I suspect that they will do Hate. If they don't do Hate, like, what's the point? Again, like, why even do? At this point, we're like so far off of adapting. We're just making up new stuff.
Exactly. And look what Hammer Files is putting here. This would make me flip tables beyond belief. If they make Channy Korba.
Yeah, if they do that, I will return my Blu-rays to the garbage can and I will watch the David Lynch version. Before I watch these. And I will watch YouTube clips of Lay's Gunfire because that stuff's awesome. But like, no, I am deeply concerned about the way they're going, and I will, like, wait for part 3 with, like, low grade, apprehension at this point, because I am not convinced we are using adaptation in anything but, like, the broadest possible sense at this point. So.
Hell yeah, I can imagine Jason Momoa's Hate. I think it would be awesome.
I think it'd be great. I think he would have a blast because it's like a very different role than what he's used to doing too, right?
Also, like, be Ronan Dex from Stargate. It'd be awesome. Hell yeah!
But with robot eyes and pathos.
I would like to see Idris just because I feel like the Spacey Guild gets like no run in this version, and I wanted the people to see just like how important these people actually were before the spice hoarding that Paul is doing now, and just seeing why they have a real motive, obviously, to be one of the key people that want to see Paul overthrown.
Yeah, it's just they've so understated the importance of the spice as space travel.
Dude, the Guild Navigators have looked bad in both adaptations, though.
That's I mean, like, I don't know what. Yeah,
I actually think that Lynch did it better than the sci-fi series.
The sci-fi one, I don't disagree. I'm not satisfied with either version.
Looked like a mutant space horse in the fucking sci-fi version.
Yeah, neither of them were great. Edric in Messiah was maybe better than, like, well, there was one in the sci-fi Dune one, like a big navigator, right? I can't remember.
Was there? Shoot, I don't even remember.
Maybe
I thought that was what you would expect CGI in the year 2000 to look like. That's what it looked like for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Spacing Guild is really just not getting a sense of just how important they actually were. And someone said earlier, I want to hear one of these actors say Chom, and I'm like, yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah, it'd be funny. That look, I could do without Chom, right? You can sort of reduce Chom to the Guild, right, and sort of like clump those guys, right? Like, that's fine. Although, like, say the word, Jason. Say it. Say Chom.
I've watched so many fan edits of Dune 1984, but a lot of people have been recommending this one to me, Under Spicy Diver, saying it's really damn good. Like, he's like cleaned up some of the scenes and stuff and added some different stuff, put all the deleted scenes back into the movie and stuff, and some stuff that like was only on like the TV version. When they put it on TV, there was some deleted scenes that you didn't actually get anywhere else.
Oh yeah.
That could be fun if you want to see them try to polish that turd as much as they can. Look, you want to say you like the sci-fi
there's
series
a lot
better? I can accept that. Stop saying 1984 is better. It's not. It's not.
It's definitely not better. There's a lot to like about it, though. It's weirder in a lot of ways. I think this. I think I prefer the general look of like a lot of the sets and stuff in the 1984 version. Like all the actual like Arakeen stuff, I think looks
Yeah, we
more
talked
like I
about that
thought
in
it did.
our old review.
Yeah.
It felt more lived in,
I
more
just I'm
dirty.
not here for the Soviet brutalism thing. Like I'm just not sure about that. But you know,
Okay, so
but no, I mean, yeah.
here's another one. So if they aren't going to do this 12-year time jump, do you think we'll actually see ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤? Do you actually will see the Holy War? We're actually going to see some of these things happening?
Man, I would like hope so. Even if it's just like what the miniseries did, right, with
Prologue?
the opening
Yeah.
scene, which was setting up the one guy whose like son is blind, right? Was what that was doing. It sort of was a callback to that. I think.
The
Uh, uh,
Stoneburner?
yeah. It was because remember there's the lady with the Rebec and Sidetail goes to see them, and it's tied into that.
Time?
The
Yeah.
Yeah, Othang. That's right. It's like I said, I've tried not to read these for like the last decade.
I just
Basically.
rewatched, like I said, the Dune Messiah adaptation, the sci-fi one, like over the weekend to do a refresher. Because, like I said, I've read Dune 1 13 times. I've only read Messiah twice, and the last time was like maybe 2009 or so. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
reread it.
It's I want to as well. I'm a quarter of the way through this last book, so
He can read
maybe
again, guys. He gets to read again. It's gonna be great.
just for a little bit because I got like other things to do. I got to keep
Yeah, you
working,
got
but
like read Red Rising, but that's a different topic. That's a different.
one of these days. But
I would be
but
down for that, even if it is just like an extended prologue. Just kind of explaining, what ℙ𝕦𝕤𝕤𝕤 all did. I mean, we're talking there's like 60 billion people that die during this, and so I think that's what it's going to be
yeah.
hard for people to realize. I'm cheering for these people that are committing genocide across the galaxy. How about
Right. Well, this is like the problem with the books too, though. Is the book starts as like Paul is space Hitler, and you're like, but he like wasn't in the last one though. And like I know people like get mad whenever I say that, but like the only indication, all right, that Paul is not great are those epigraphs, and like people actually skip those when they read the book, right? They're like that just says chapter one. Um, but I'm not saying that I do, but like all Paul does in the first book is avenge his family, who are more or less depicted as unambiguously good, against the corrupt government and the people who are presented as unambiguously evil. That is the first book. And just saying actually I'm the bad guy maybe is not doing enough heavy lifting for most people. That's why most people get to book two and they're like, what is this?
Matt, me and Christopher have been texting about this as soon as he saw the movie. I've been asking about this because they set up Marie Finring. That's going to be Feyd and Lady Finring's kid. I've secured the heir. Is that something that is actually from Paul of Dune? That's like the one Brian Herbert book I said I feel like is actually readable because it gives me a lot of stuff. I feel like they are going to put that stuff in here. And I think that's how they're going to correct ℚ𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤 the knife. Obviously she didn't kill the Baron, so she can't get that, but she does kill Marie Finring, and I feel like that's where she could take place. Hey, that's how she became known as ℚ𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤 the knife. If they even care about that, I'm saying, but I do think that was set up for that purpose, and I do believe that'll be the one thing that they do pull into Messiah from Brian's works outside of just the good
Yeah,
stuff.
I think so too. I think given all the stuff they cut, the fact that they included that tells me that it is in the plan for the next one, which I think is great because I actually think that the fact that that thread gets dropped in the Frank books is also like not great.
If Paul's a student of history, but I would be very surprised if they name drop Big H and Mr. Khan there. I'd be shocked. I would be shocked.
That'd be really something. I mean, this is like those moments are like my favorite moments in Dune, right? Like when the God Emperor is talking and he just name drops Bach, or he starts talking about like Nasir Asir Opli, right? And like the Assyrians, and I'm like, I know all of this stuff. Go on, Frank.
Well, yeah,
Proceed.
somebody said like, oh, well, like on Star Trek, they mentioned stuff from our time. I was like, dude, but that's like what 500-600 years in the future. This is 20,000 years in another part of the universe. So I don't know how much of like Earth history we're really hanging on to, are we?
I obviously feel like pretty differently about this because I like wrote Sun Eater, right? And Sun Eater is like the anti-Dune, with regard to this, right? Because because Dune is like, we have like 5 mentions of things, right? There's like a Van Gogh painting, right? There's the Hitler Genghis Khan thing. There's like a seashell. There's like a couple things. Like I'm just like referencing stuff all the time because like the longer stuff lasts, actually, the like more important it is to us, right? Like if I say Gilgamesh, like people know who I mean, right? At least broadly. You know, like I don't know. I think a lot of our stuff's gonna stick around longer than we would think.
Can you explain the jihad? Because there's no impetus for war since the guild accepts this term. They don't. The great houses aren't going to accept. They didn't accept the way that he did, the way that he ascends to emperor. So they don't really accept it. But then it's also like well, agree with me or die, infidel. You know, that's just kind of how it works. And
yeah,
that's the shocking part about when you start reading Messiah. If you didn't catch that in the first book, you're like, are we the baddies? You know, you start looking at it like that. So it asks those questions.
Yeah, no, the great houses don't ascend. I think the guild basically, if I remember right, because again, I haven't read the book in like 10 years. I think the guild in the book sort of rubber stamps Paul, right? Because they have like no other choice. And because like he could destroy the spice, they kind of have to listen to him. Because they have to, of course, transport the Fremen to all of these planets. But like the other houses like aren't super happy about what has happened here, and all of this stuff. And obviously, like there's some Carino and like Harkonnen holdouts and things. But part of it, I think we should consider is just the Fremen like want to conquer. You know, like they like their prophesied, you know, Messiah has come. They are like transported in this ecstasy of violence, and they like want to do this. They want to bring about like the new age, right? And so these things have like gotten you know, gotten away from Paul. Paul doesn't want any of this to happen, right? Which is another reason why, like,
Right.
he's not really the bad guy. He's kind of a victim of himself. You know, it's another thing.
That's why he didn't want to become a Messiah figure, because he's seen these visions of him, you know, this genocide happening in his name under the Atreides banner. You know,
Yeah,
he doesn't want that to happen, but just like there's no way to prevent it, really.
yeah, he's like a very Greek tragic hero, right? Like all this stuff happens despite him, and it's to his sorrow, right? So I like never I feel sorry for Paul when I read Dune. I don't feel I don't feel like he's the bad guy. I feel like he's a victim of it all. To Antonio's question about thumpers, why do they sometimes come vertically and sometimes horizontally? I would assume it's just how much sand is there underneath, how big is the worm.
I just always assume they know the desert so well. They've tested different ways for, you know, location, topography for where the worm's going to come. That's what I always assume. But does he actually like explain it? I don't.
No. I think we just have to trust that the Fremen know what a likely spot looks like, right? Because like I mean they do like Paul, you want to like, you know, that looks like a likely spot. Like why don't you do that, you know, here? Because you have to figure out how to, you know, get on top of them. Obviously, like Paul plants the thumper like pretty high up on that erg, and then as it's collapsing, he jumps down on top of it. You know, you can't just. But there is a thing too in the books. They talk about how, because when the segments open, the worm skin that's exposed in between, they roll to try and get it away from the sand, so it doesn't get abraded. So they, even if they're not above the worm, they'll like latch onto the side and open it, and that will cause the worm to pull them up on top. You know, but yeah, no, as far as the horizontal vertical thing, no, it's never.
You know, the more and more we start like leaning on like AI and how you can't like talk to anybody without them having a phone in their face all the time, I'm starting to think that Butlerian Jihad might be, you know, necessary.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Whenever my Amazon speaking device goes off in the middle of one of my videos, I'm like, this is why the Butlerian Jihad was necessary.
Oh yeah, well, my camera is my phone, so if it's buzzed a couple of times, that's
all right. So we've already said we're not even positive we're going to get. Here's the thing: is we have talked about this off camera. We both disagree with Denny saying he just wants to tell the story through Messiah because he feels like that's the end of Paul's story. We disagree. Obviously, and it's not just because Paul, hey, does show up in Children of Dune, but I think what he's meaning is saying is like it's the end of maybe Paul as the main character. But if he really wants this to be a trilogy and he wants it to be closed-ended, as much as I hate it, I could see him not doing Leto II and Ganima, and I would hate it. I would absolutely hate it because I was thinking, like, could he pull any stuff from Children of Dune? If we're not going to have a time skip, I don't know if he's going to have any reason to pull from anything from Children of Dune.
Yeah, I have the same fear, because here's the weird thing though, right? Is like if Dune 3 comes out and it does even better than Dune 2 is looking to do, and Dune 2 is looking to like double the take from the first one, right? They're gonna like want to do more. So like I'm of two minds because like I don't want it to like I don't want it, to get handed over to some like second unit Marvel movie director to take over Children of Dune. I don't want that to happen. So like if Denis like wraps it up in a way that like ends the story definitively and like prevents the like commodification of the story moving forward, okay, cool. Like I hate the Matrix Resurrections, but I appreciate that they made it to prevent any more being done. Like I won't watch it, but like well played, the Wachowskis. You shut that down. Nice. But no, I want to see the books adapted faithfully, and like this is why I'm so grumpy. All right, is that like I obviously like write books, and if somebody comes in and starts changing stuff, because they feel like it needs to be made better in some way for whatever reason, right? Like whether that's like they like political or they think like I did a bad job in some way. Now I understand adapting the story for like different media, right? Because like you need to make changes because in a book you like don't have a screen and you can show stuff. But like if you just start changing stuff because you think you know better, fuck you.
Well, I've always said that. Like, why do they change Stephen King books and these screen? You're not a better writer than him. Why are you doing that? Why even make it? If that's what you want to do. Now, with me, with this, I feel like in 1 and 2, the changes they've made, I'm not on board with all of them. I can accept them. But the direction that it looks like it's heading with Messiah, it feels like it's not even going to be the same book. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's for the better because, Messiah isn't really like people pleasing. It's not that kind of story, guys. This isn't Star Wars. This isn't going to be people pleasery. And I feel like Denis respects the source material enough that he's not going to move away from that theme. But I think he can move away from a lot of these plot points for sure.
Yeah, I could. So here's the thing. Again, I was having the best time until like the last 30 minutes, right? Until the battle kind of fell flat for me. And then the Chani thing, that I cannot forgive. This I cannot forgive.
No, I told my wife I didn't like where it ended.
Yeah, it was not good, and it sort of prefigures all these problems, right? So like, is Denis smart enough, competent enough, cares enough about the books enough to like to make part 3 work? 100%, right? I am apprehensive. This movie mostly has left me apprehensive. That was sort of my feeling, and I know that I am like not the only person. Like it seems like a lot of the hardcore book readers are getting yelled at by the usual customers on the internet, and just let people enjoy things. How about let me not enjoy things? Take that. Also valid.
I get both. I get the people telling me to shut up and enjoy it, and I get the people that are book lovers telling me they can't believe I enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm stuck somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah, look, I am too, because again, like I've been very negative. I mostly love the movie. I was like mostly having a great time. It's just when you end on the thing that I feel the most negatively about, that's a really hard thing to come back from. Because of the whole car ride home, I'm mad. Because you left me.
I was mad when I accepted before the movie even happened that what they were going to do to Alia. Like I said, that's my favorite fucking moment in the book. I love that scene so much. But what Chase is asking here, do you think the general public would watch movies past Paul? I think it would just depend on two things. Who do you cast as the twins if you do that? And another thing I got to point out is in the sci-fi series, James McAvoy plays Leo II, and he's awesome. This is before anybody knew who James McAvoy was. So I think it would really
just cast him again, actually.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, I don't know. I just kind of want him to be. They do God Emperor. It has to be James McAvoy, right?
I want James McAvoy in like full prosthetics with like Muppet arms. Talking.
Just put him on the Jabba the Hutt suit. They probably got it laying around somewhere. Really cool. So I really just it depends on that. We talked about could if he doesn't want to go on, would they give it to the director? And we're both of us today at the same time almost we texted. Well, Christopher Nolan would make the most sense. Christopher Nolan and Denis V are very, very close friends. And I
Yeah,
feel like if he didn't have Denny's blessing, he wouldn't do it.
yeah,
But
but
I
I could
think
also see them like doing that on purpose.
what's sad about that is that we both said that we feel like that's the only two directors that could pull this off. No one else would treat it the way that it needs to be treated. They would want to make it more Star Warsy / MCU like. They would. And
Yeah,
like I said, WB's already seeing them dollar signs being like, whoa, we had no idea how much people like this. We'll take it from here, guys. That's what's very, very possible. So that's why I think Denny will have it kind of at a closed ending and not leave it wide open.
yeah. Although the counterpoint to that is that show exists, so I don't know. Yeah, it's frustrating that we're like in a position where if it's like science fiction movies, they're like two guys. Like that's not a good position to be in. To Dennis's point, also, hey Dennis, what's up?
I would like that, but dude, that would be so hard for modern audiences to accept God Emperor. But it does cover what, like 3,000 years, So
Yeah, I think if it were me, I hate to keep being the sci-fi miniseries is the best version guy, but like I would have done 3 movies for book 1, and I would have done 1 for Messiah and 2 for Children, and done 6 movies and said, take that, Star Wars. We also have 2 trilogies, because that's how many Star Warses there are, and like leave it there. I would love to do God Emperor, but like God Emperor is, I don't want to say unfilmable, because actually anything is filmable with with the right know-how. I don't know how like cinematic it really is, because it is mostly a dude in a worm suit talking to Jason Momoa and/or Siona Atreides. Like it is just like conversations.
Yeah,
Except for
a
like
lot of navel gazing. That would actually be, I think, out of all of those 4 of those books, I think that would be the hardest to make a cohesive film out of. So would I like to see it? Sure, just to see how they actually pulled it off. And what's so funny is when I went and saw part 1 and you hear the Sardaukar voice at the beginning, which we didn't know was Sardaukar at the time, I actually thought that was the God Emperor. And I was like, oh shit, they're really leaning into this. It's gonna be the God Emperor like retelling his story, right? I thought that's what it was gonna be.
that would have been
Then you had the
cool.
Secundus scene. I was like, oh, okay, well that was kind of a letdown.
Yeah, it is a strange choice. I like routinely forget it's a thing too. So when they did it this movie again, I was like, ah, shit.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. Yeah, no, I don't think we're ever going to see God Emperor. I don't, unless you count that 1 billion Mandy episode. But that's like the only adaptation that exists.
Like, I mean, at that point, you're making an adaptation of God Emperor. You basically would just be writing a story, because I like, again, like you said, it's really conversations and vision.
Yeah, you would really need to like dial up the assassination plot in a big way. Like you could totally do it. Like it could be done if you give me a week. Like I could think of a couple of ways we could make it happen. But
could it be better than falling off a bridge?
No, he's got to land in the river, man. That'd be such a good scene. He's like melting, it's like the Wizard of Oz.
Well, I kind of like what the Sci-Fi Channel series did is I thought it was so successful. I thought they were going to do God Emperor, where they show him with whatever the hell the thing is called, the worm,
the sand trout
thing. What is it?
The sand trout.
Sand trout, thank you. It's showing him like having to transfer. And I thought, okay, maybe they could pull forward that and leave the wide open of like, look, we're teasing, children doing God Emperor kind of thing with Leto, but I just don't think they get that far in a Messiah adaptation.
No, and I think in a lot of ways too that like Children of Dune is a really natural place to end, right? Because Leto has made the choice; he is on the golden path. If you explain what that means substantially enough, right, the audience will understand. Like he has to go become Giga Hitler so that humanity can learn never to allow anybody to be Giga Hitler ever again.
I never thought that term would be funny, but somehow it is. And it is. It's something where we talk about like Paul's not a bad guy. It's like, look, Paul does some messed up stuff here, but even he's like, the golden path's too fucked up for me. Sorry, son. Have fun with that shit.
This is actually Paul's evilest thing, is he like puts that on his infant and then walks out into the desert. Not great, Paul. Not great.
See, if you ever think that you're a bad parent, just say, well,
I'm not Paul Atreides. Yeah. Actually, if your choices are, be a Leto the First. Don't be a Paul.
Hey,
Um,
look, Dennis, he saves humanity. I mean, let's be real here. He made the tough choice, but he saves.
that is true, right? Like this is the thing, is that actually it takes two Giga Hitlers to save humanity. So what did Frank mean by this? It's a very hard thing to sort of figure out. But like the alternative, like the God Emperor is pretty explicit about this. It was like humanity probably would go extinct if the Golden Path had not happened. Like we would have mutually assured destruction to ourselves. Because this is the thing that like is not really talked about that much, right? But Dune is a nuclear era novel, right? Like it is concerned with questions not just of like oil scarcity, but like with the but with like what do we? I just read the 3 Giga Hitlers comment. Sorry. Yeah. Fortunately, they're only 2 in the series, guys. But but like it's concerned with like nuclear anxiety, right? And so you have to remember this is being written in a climate when like the doomsday clock is like 1 minute to midnight, and everybody's worried that like we're all going to be dead in the next 5 years, like it's all over. And so the series, in like a meta sense, is about not just like how do we solve the problem of tyranny, right? We answer Worm Hitler, but like how do we like as a species survive escape to a situation where we can no longer nuke ourselves into non-existence or whatever, right? Like I was watching, like Quinn's got a video about like how one of the possible futures, like it's kind of implied that the Ixians make like a prescient hunter seeker that just starts killing everybody, right? Like how do we get away from that problem, right? So Leto steered us away from that, right? Thanks Worm Hitler. It gets very weird, and I just don't. I feel like Denis has been avoiding a lot of the weird, and I just don't see us going into Worm Dictator saves us from
Right.
time traveling flying knives. Like I just don't. I don't think we're
That's why
going
I'm
there.
like, I'm still not convinced that we'll get Talaxu face dancers. I think he might just fight, and the spacing of him. He might fight just too
I
weird.
don't know. I feel like face dancers might be the kind of weird he's into though, because we've got the like weird like clown goblin picadors, right? Like maybe we can get shapeshifters, right? Maybe shapeshifters or something. He'll do.
Isaac,
Um,
I'm with you, man. I always was like, really, Leto the second, the elder, and Leto the second, the younger. What is this? Just call him Leto the third.
yeah.
I'm with you.
Well, not to nitpick your nitpick, but when you have princes, they usually don't get numbers until
Oh,
they
reach
take
age.
until they get coronated.
Mm.
Um,
This guy's, you know
usually
what Christopher is telling you right now. He's going to be writing some fantasy book. That's what he's telling you right now. He understands how the hierarchy works.
that is true. Yeah, see, Dennis knows. But yeah, no, you get the number when that's part of your like regnal name.
I know, right? That's how I feel reading his books. I'm like, well, yeah, of course I should have known that, but I'm stupid. So I've got you here to tell me these things.
No,
I'm
live
not
to
even
serve.
hold my breath for children, so I'm not going to even think about God Emperor. I wish that Denny would do all these movies, but again, I am apprehensive. I'm trying not to be just like a big old negative Nancy about where Messiah is going, but I'm hoping, like I said, that we just talk about. Yeah, it took Chani a while to come around to this living situation, but instead of showing us that, and again, like if they make her Korba in Dune Messiah and we get no twins, I'm gonna be very, 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 very upset, and I won't even hide it.
Yeah, no, I will be pretty pissed if that happens. Maybe it won't, right? Maybe we're being like unfairly negative here, as opposed to what I usually am, which is very fairly negative. Um, but um, but I am pretty worried. It's really just down to the Chani thing. Like everything else is fine. I could like forgive that as an artistic decision. So
Oh my God, man. Woo! I'm the one who said that. I thought I was being insensitive saying she has a peculiar look. Plastic surgery face. Okay.
ouch.
Well, I mean, I don't have anything else. I mean, I feel like I said, like we feel like we could talk about this forever when you get to like the speculation range and stuff. I mean, look, we're living in a world where we might get a third big budget Dune adaptation. That's something I never thought that I'd see in my lifetime. So
Yeah.
I like the movie clearly a bit more than Christopher. I don't disagree with any of his nitpicks at all. I think it's just kind of like where I was when I saw Lord of the Rings. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't have made that choice, but I can get with it. But most of the ones in Lord of the Rings, I was like really on board with. Like, but if you're giving me no Alia or no ℕ𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤, I'm cool with no ℕ𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤, but I need my Alia.
Yeah, no, well, she's like way more integral to the plot, right? I'm with you there. And like, look, this is like, I have a very weird response to this movie, right? Like, again, I loved it until the end, right? So like, I am being very negative, but that's because like, what am I gonna just say for 2 hours? Like, the laser guns were really cool, guys. Go see. Like, I am gonna go see it again. I have plans to go see it again. I thought it was great, and like the important thing is that like it's not a superhero movie. Please go see it. Can we please save cinema from just being about
I would say I am very, very excited about how many people who haven't read it there are going, because literally I truly believe that people that love the book are what carried part 1 to the finish line, because you remember that was released on the same day on HBO Max, so people weren't going to the theater, and we were still people were still iffy about going out at that time, so I really feel like it was the people who loved it and they wanted to pass it down to their kids or their kids' kids kind of thing. That's really what carried part 1. This has shown clearly this is more than just the book readers now. This is kind of it. I'm seeing pop culture memes and shit about Dune. I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime. There's so many like Stillgar memes right now on Twitter. I was like, this is great. I never thought that I would actually see this. So I feel like you've got it's no longer about can it make enough money to keep going? And I'm hoping, honestly, I hope that this is a boom for science fiction.
Yeah, I do too.
Science fiction besides Star Wars doesn't do well at the box office.
Yeah, really if this means Bradley Cooper can get his Hyperion movie made finally, like I'm all there. And the other thing too, look, is like I've been kind of hard on him in here, but it's only because I love him. But this is also like a huge win for Villeneuve, right? Like his movies with these, like they've been like very critically successful and they've like broken even broadly. But like Arrival, like was not a huge financial success. Blade Runner 2049 was kind of a failure, actually.
It was a bomb.
Which is super disappointing because I liked it.
I like it. I went and saw the theater, dude. There was 3 of us in the theater opening night.
Yeah, it was pretty devastating, right? And so, I really I'm like glad for him, right? I think he is a genuinely great filmmaker. He like clearly also like loves science fiction literature, right? He wants to do Rendezvous with Rama, like you said. Yeah. So like this is great for him. It's great for science fiction.
What scene do you not like in Blade Runner?
It's not a scene that I don't like. There's a scene in Blade Runner that I planned to put into the end of the series, particularly in book 6, from like 2012. Like I'd been planning this scene down to like a very specific detail in the scene, and I got scooped. I actually screamed and threw my drink on the floor. And like got up and almost left the theater and like walked back and sat down. I was so upset because nobody would believe that I came up with it on my own. And so far, nobody has believed that I came up with it on my own. But I like whenever this happens, I just do it anyway. I'm not changing the story because I know it was the right idea. But like, and look, I can swear that Hampton Fancher and Denis Villeneuve and I had the same idea organically. I will literally go to my grave swearing this. I won't say what scene it is. It's very obvious, I think. But I was so like I wrote like a 3,000 word email to my publisher asking them what they thought I should do, which they did not read. So I decided to just do it anyway. Look, it's nice that like came up with the same idea. That's cool. But yeah.
Mike, apparently Bradley Cooper's been working on that for like close to a decade now. So hopefully this can show them, hey, look, science fiction can make money if you put money into it. And, you write competently. My thing with this is like, I've always told people that I feel like, even though it came first, but, more people obviously clearly know Star Wars and they know Dune, is I tell them that Dune is Star Wars for adults. And I think this shows that there is an audience for adult science fiction. You don't have to have quips. You don't have to have ridiculous amounts of CGI to just be goofy. You don't have to have weird shared universes, any of that stuff. You can just have smart science fiction for adults. And I'm hoping that this is going to be the next boom. Because I feel like Apple TV's actually kind of got the ball rolling a little bit on that, where it's like, look, you can make good, smart sci-fi with a good budget and great writing, and people will watch it. So I hope that this is that kind of that. It feels like that moment where cinema is struggling. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about like this is like the savior of the box office right now. And if this is like the kind of movie that is that watershed moment where we say, hey, look, just like Westerns, maybe the superhero thing has kind of run its course and we can start doing some original ideas and show that if you put out quality content, the audience will come. I mean, I don't feel like is there one like actor or actress right now that's like a draw, like they're going to have like a huge movie just because they're in it? I think that time's passed.
Just Tom Cruise. Yeah.
I feel like it's more like direct filmmakers now, where people will go say like me, anything Denny V or Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino puts, I'm there day one. I'm going to see it. No questions asked. And shut up. I know that you don't like Hateful Eight. We'll get into that later. But I'm just saying that like there are directors for me that are appointment viewing. There's no actor where I'm like, I've got to see that movie because that actor is in it.
Yeah, they don't exist. And it's not a long list of filmmakers either, right? Like that's pretty much it. There maybe are a couple more, but it's pretty much just those guys. I mean, like even Scorsese these days is like, I mean, he's old, right? But it's not what he used to be.
Hey, I like Silo. People talk about Silo. Silo's pretty cool.
Cameron's probably like
Cameron. Yeah, people always want to disrespect Cameron because they don't like the Avatar movies, but you know what? Everybody's gonna keep going to see them.
Everybody goes. I didn't. I was strong, but not interested. But yeah, no, I mean, like he loves what he's doing. But
God,
that's
nailed it.
Watch Madam Web.
Even the actress that was in that movie was trashing on SNL the other night. That's hilarious. I was just like, man. I mean, when you were hearing that like these people were like firing their agents and stuff before the movie even came out, you knew how that shit was going to go. Anyway, I hope that's like the perfect watershed moment. Madam Web combined with Dune is where we say maybe we need to start doing this.
Yeah, the thing too. I unfairly missed Robert Eggers. He's great. But
I respect Eggers and the fact that he isn't going to change his style for anyone. Because apparently, like they asked him to do a superhero movie, and he was like, "No." Yeah, so he's not going to change his style for anything. So look, I've only liked one of his movies. I really liked The Northman. I did not like The Witch. Very, very unpopular opinion, but I did not like The Lighthouse. Hark! I did not care for it. I thought it was good performances. Same with The Witch. Just didn't like the movie very much. But I admire that guy goes for he has his style and he goes for it. And I admire that. We need more filmmakers like that.
Yeah, I'm more or less with you. I don't like The Witch very much, but I like The Lighthouse.
It's got plastic surgery face in
it. So unkind.
It's very mean.
But The Northman was great.
Northman was very, very good.
But Nosferatu, we'll see. But yeah, no, I don't know. It feels to me too, and this is maybe like the more salient point, right? Is like actually, I'm going to say something like, here's my hot take. Audience opinion like actually doesn't matter, because like if they make something, people tend to show up, and they'll make it like to lose money if there's some tax reason to make it, right? But I think the people who make movies are getting sick of superheroes.
Dude, I grew up dreaming about seeing these superhero movies, and now it's like you couldn't make me go see one anymore.
Yeah, the only one I want to see is the Matt Reeves Batman movies. That's it. Now, like I like Batman a lot, but I also think Matt Reeves is pretty good. So yeah. But like, look, I think that like you see like a lot of actors, like the dude who's on The Bear is like, I'm not being a superhero. What's wrong with you? I think Timothée Chalamet said he wasn't going to do it. Right, because his agent was telling him that's like
I might be remembering this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that like he said like Leonardo DiCaprio was like kind of like his mentor, and he said one of the advice that he gave him was say yes to legendary directors, but say no to superhero movies. I was like, that's good advice. Looks like it's working out for him, because like I don't know that anybody expected Wonka to be a big hit, but I was like, this guy's having a year already. He's got 2 huge hits at the box office when like everything is flopping now. So I think like, him and Austin Butler, I think their futures are just like incredibly bright, because I think they make good decisions. They have good agents.
Yeah. I think. Timothy did say he would do it. Okay,
if the script was good.
But I have seen a few actors start to say, yeah, I'm not doing it, man. So
We come full circle. It used to be like you couldn't get any good actors to do a sci-fi or superhero film, and now it's getting back to where they're like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
After a while, they were all saying yes to him.
Yeah, well, it was cool for a while, but I do think broadly the like geek culture, pop culture thing is starting to ebb, which actually I think is good for us nerds. I think the invasion of the normies was not good for geek culture, but finally they'll leave my basement in peace. But actually, it's an attic. It's not a basement. But here we are. In any case, you know, I think that's starting to change. I think people are getting over a lot of this stuff, and you know, like westerns are kind of coming back a little bit, and like I guess we'll see what happens. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, I hope it's not going to be anything that happens overnight, but I'm hoping that this is a shot across the bow where they realize, hey, we gotta make some changes. Look, the audiences are smarter than we give them credit for, and they can grasp something like this. So hopefully it is the new direction. So Christopher, thank you so much as always for taking time out of your writing schedule to talk with me about Dune. I know it's something that we both love and we can talk about forever. But you know, until next time, may your knife chip and shatter.
May your knife chip and shatter.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.